Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the MLB slate on DraftKings for Monday, April 23rd. 8 games today on Monday's main slate. Decent sized slate. Before we do get started looking at pitchers for today and some batters we want to target, I would really appreciate it if you guys would drop a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel and you have not clicked that subscribe button yet, make sure you subscribe down below so that way you won't miss out on any of my new videos. But yeah, looking at pitcher today, definitely got some studs on this slate that we can target. Gerrit Cole, Carlos Carrasco, and Gio Gonzalez are our 3 pitchers over $10,000 today on DK. Gerrit Cole leads the pack at 12-6 in a matchup with the Angels. I do like paying up for Gerrit Cole in this slate. The guy just been so good this year with the Astros. Through 4 games, he's been great for fantasy. Been racking up strikeouts through 4 games with the Astros. I believe he's got 40 strikeouts if I do the math real quick. Yeah, 41 strikeouts through 4 games. For fantasy, he's been very consistent, 36, 34, 36, and 25 DK points last 4 games. This matchup with the Angels is not a matchup that I think is like a cupcake matchup, but definitely some strikeouts in this lineup. Once you get past Kinsler and Trout, Upton will definitely strike out versus righties. Kozar will strike out. Simmons will strike out. Martin Maldonado down there at the bottom will definitely K some. Even Valbuena will strike out as well. Cole Calhoun, not a heavy strikeout guy, but you could definitely get some Ks there. We've known the Angels in the past to be a team that doesn't really strike out much, but there are definitely enough Ks in this lineup to where Gerrit Cole does have upside here. He's $12,600. He's very expensive, but I think he is worth the price tag. You do have Carlos Carrasco for like a pivot away from Gerrit Cole. I imagine if people are going to pay up for pitcher today, they're most likely going to play Gerrit Cole. I don't think a ton of people are going to play Carrasco here. He gets a matchup with the Orioles. Definitely a good spot for Carrasco. The Orioles will strike out versus righties. Do have a lot of righties in their lineup. Really the only lefties in that lineup are Pedro Alvarez, Davis, Santander, and Cisco. Sardinez, I guess, as well. But towards the bottom of that lineup, guys like Santander, Cisco, Sardinez, those aren't guys you're really worried about. Chris Davis, he's powerful, but he will definitely strike out. Same with Alvarez, another guy that will K. And then Mancini versus a righty will definitely strike out. Adam Jones has an increased K rate versus righties. Tim Beckham will strike out a lot versus righties. Machado's been very hot lately, but as long as Carrasco could get through him, I think this is a spot where Carrasco could definitely have some success as well. If you want to play Carrasco in tournaments, just to get a lower owned guy, I think that does make sense, but I feel like Gerrit Cole might be safer, so I'm going to roll with Cole. I like Carrasco. Gio Gonzalez, I don't think I'm very interested in. With him being $10,800, I think I would just rather get up to Carrasco or get up to Gerrit Cole. So I'm mainly looking at Cole and Carrasco if I'm paying up today. And then for SP2 options, there isn't a lot I love at SP2 today. The 2 guys I'm really looking at right now are Trevor Cahill and Masahiro Tanaka. Those are the 2 that really stick out to me. Tanaka is definitely one that I like here against Minnesota. I think this is a good matchup for Tanaka. I think this is a spot where he can rack up some strikeouts. The Twins will definitely strike out versus righties. They do have righties, or they do have guys in their lineup that will strike out versus righties. Sano, Logan Morrison, Robbie Grossman towards the bottom, Castro. These guys will definitely strike out. And Dozier has an increased K rate versus righties. Joe Mauer doesn't really strike out much. He'll put the ball in play. Once you get past him, there are definitely Ks in this lineup. Tanaka, we know, has a really good slider. He can get swings and misses. A lot of guys in that Twins lineup will definitely chase pitches. So I like Tanaka here. He might be somewhat risky, but I think he has a lot of upside in this spot. Could definitely be one of those games where Tanaka just is really on. Could get 6, 7 innings here, 8, 9, 10 strikeouts from Tanaka is definitely possible in my opinion. So I'm rolling with Cole and Tanaka today as my 2 pitchers. Really, the only SP2 that I like besides Tanaka is Trevor Cahill at 7K against Texas. But that's definitely another scary spot as well. Texas could really rough up Trevor Cahill here, or he could go out and pitch a really good game. Really wouldn't be surprised if either one happened. There are a lot of strikeouts in this lineup from Texas. A lot of these guys will K, but they definitely have power as well. Texas has a pretty high run total at 4.7 runs, somewhat high. It's going to be played in Texas. Very good hitters park. If you wanted to roll Cahill out in a tournament, I don't mind him at 7K, but I would rather get up to Masahiro Tanaka. I do feel better about Tanaka, and trying to find that extra salary to get up to him I think makes sense. So for pitcher for me today, it's really Cole, Carrasco up top, and then the SP2 options are Tanaka and Cahill. And I think that's really it. Like Skaggs, I'm not playing against Houston. Matt Moore, no thanks. Mike Leake, I just don't think has enough upside, even though it's against the White Sox. I just feel like Mike Leake can't really get strikeouts. And then under Mike Leake, just not enough of these guys have upside. So that's really it for pitcher. Now if you want to look at some batters for today, we're going to go to third base. Go for a play here that's cheap. We're obviously going to need some cheap bats since we went Cole and Tanaka. That only leaves us $35.75 remaining per player. So all three of my hitters for today are going to be under 4,000, getting you some value. A value play I like at third base is Kyle Seager, 3,600 in a matchup with Miguel Gonzalez. I was very high on the Mariners Saturday, I believe it was, against Bartolo Colon. They did pretty well. Going back to the well on them today against Miguel Gonzalez. Gonzalez is not a good pitcher. I love the Mariners today as a stack. I really like the lefties, mainly Cano and Seager, kind of the ones I'm really looking at. But Cruz, Segura, D. Gordon, I think all these guys are playable. Even Mitch Haniger, 3.7. These guys are really cheap. Even Cruz and Cano aren't even that expensive. Cano's only 4K. Cruz is 4.3. Miguel Gonzalez, we know, not a good pitcher. Will definitely give up home runs. So really like Kyle Seager here, 3,600. He's getting the platoon advantage, going up against the righty. Seager does hit righties a lot better than he hits lefties. So I like him here for value at third base if you're trying to punt that position. And then my next play is coming from shortstop. Another cheap option I like here that I think is a great value play today is Marcus Semien, 3,400 in a matchup with Matt Moore. This is another team I'm looking to go to today for stacks. Love the Athletics here versus Matt Moore. Matt Moore, another guy that I don't think is that good of a pitcher. Love a lot of these righties from the Athletics today. They're all very, very cheap. Semien, Piscotty, Lowry, Chris Davis, Chapman. These guys are pretty much free. The only ones over 4K are Davis and Chapman. I guess Lowry as well. But Semien, Piscotty, I think makes a lot of sense as value plays. Even if you want to play Mark Hanna or Chad Pinder at the bottom of the lineup, those are guys that do have power versus lefties. Matt Moore is just not a good pitcher. He'll give up home runs to righties. Love the Athletics here. They have a high run total for today. Implied score 5.4 runs. Think they make a lot of sense as a cheap stack on this slate. Marcus Semien, I think, is a great value option at shortstop, just 3,400. Hits lefties well, going up against a bad lefty. Just think he makes a lot of sense here. And then my final play is coming from the outfield. Another dirt cheap value option I like here. I'm not sure if he's eligible on FanDuel, but obviously he's eligible on DK. David DAHL at 2,800 in a matchup with Brian Mitchell. I absolutely love him today for value. Like I said, I believe DAHL is not eligible on FanDuel just because he did get called up, and I don't think they've added him to the player pool yet, but he's eligible on DK. He's 2,800, and he's in the projected lineup for the Rockies. He's projected about 6th in a matchup with Brian Mitchell that I just absolutely love. Mitchell is not a good pitcher. The Rockies have an insane implied run total for today. Implied to score 6.3 runs. The Rockies are going to be a team you want to get some exposure to today. They're obviously going to be expensive, but you can find value in this lineup. And David DAHL is just one guy that really sticks out to me here. Just 2.8K. He's going to be in Coors Field, the best hitter's park in the game, against a very bad pitcher. DAHL will be getting the platoon advantage. Going up against the righty, he hits righties well. With Cargo on the DL, with Gerardo Parra suspended, I would imagine that DAHL is going to be in the lineup for a while, or at least for a couple games. And he should be in the lineup for today, and I think he makes a lot of sense for value. If you're looking at a cheap outfielder, if you want to pay up for pitcher today, you're going to need some value bats. I think that's where all three of these guys come in. All of them are dirt cheap. But yeah, guys, these are my 5 plays for today. Gerrit Cole, Masahiro Tanaka, Kyle Seager, Marcus Semien, and David DAHL. Now if you want to look at some stacks for today, some of the teams that have the highest implied run totals. So obviously the Rockies are number 1 stack on this slate, but that's pretty obvious. They have a high run total. Everybody's going to be on the Rockies today. I do like just picking some guys out of the lineup, maybe to play in cash. If you want to play DAHL in cash, I think he's a great cash option, especially if you're paying up for pitcher, which you should be in cash games. You could definitely go to David DAHL. Chris Iannetta, probably one of the top catcher plays on this slate. 3.5K projected about 5th. I really like him here. Blackman, Arenado, Story. These guys are great plays if you can fit them in. It's going to be hard because they're pretty expensive, especially Arenado and Blackman. But it's pretty likely that this team just puts up a ton of runs here, and you're going to want to get some exposure. So love the Rockies, but looking for some other stacks, this is where I think we can find some value with 2 teams. I think the Mariners and the Athletics are 2 teams I'm really looking at for value, especially the Athletics today. Towards the top of that lineup with Semien and Piscotty, I think 2 really good options. If you want to play some of the guys towards the bottom of the lineup, they're going to be very low owned. They do have power. Pinder, Mark Hanna, Two guys you can consider for value options if you are looking to go cheap. Maybe an outfield or second base shortstop. You could play Pinder at just 3-2. And then the Mariners, like I said, another team you can look to for value. Very cheap options up and down this lineup. And Miguel Gonzalez, definitely going to get rocked here. Should give up some runs to this team. And I think the Mariners, another good stack for today. And that's really it for stacks, at least for the ones that I'm looking to target on this slate. It's definitely the Rockies #1, and then the Mariners and Athletics are kind of the teams that I'm looking to go to today. Now if we want to look at some BVP plays, some guys that have done really well in the matchups that they have for today. Ones that stick out to me just with a pretty high sample size. Adrian Beltre is 11 for 30 with 2 home runs versus Trevor Cahill. Andrew McCutchen 6 for 20 versus Gio Gonzalez has hit him for a 300 average. Will Myers 8 for 16 with 2 home runs versus Chad Bettis. I'm not sure what Will Myers' price tag is. 4.7, that's kind of expensive, but I didn't really talk about the Padres. The Padres are going to be in Coors Field. These guys kind of did get priced up, at least towards the top of the lineup. Some of these guys did. But you do have some value here with Villanueva, who I think is a really good third base option. If you're not playing Seager, you could definitely go to Villanueva. Galvis, Asuaje, Hedges. These guys aren't great hitters, but they're dirt cheap. They're going to be in Coors Field. You could consider them for value options. And if you can fit in Will Myers, you could play him, especially since he's got the BVP versus Chad Bettis. And a lot of these Mariners have hit Miguel Gonzalez well. Nelson Cruz, 5 for 16 with a home run. Andrew Romine, I doubt he'll be in the lineup, but 7 for 17. Kyle Seager has some decent BVP, 3 for 12 with a home run versus Gonzalez. Ichiro is 6 for 19 with 2 home runs versus Gonzalez. But that's really it for BVP. Now if we want to look at pitchers that have done well in their matchups, both pitchers that I like for today have done well in their matchups. Masahiro Tanaka has done really well against the Twins. The Twins have struggled to hit Tanaka, only hitting him for a 240 average. They're 18 for 75. Of those 75 at-bats, the Twins have struck out 19 times versus Tanaka, so he's been able to get the strikeouts versus them. Do like Tanaka here, obviously. And then Garrett Cole, done really well against the Angels. They have really struggled to hit him, only hitting Cole for a 160 average, 12 hits, and 75 plate appearances. Cole has 21 strikeouts in those 75 plate appearances. So he's definitely been able to rack up some Ks as well versus the Angels. And then pitchers that have done poorly, Miguel Gonzalez struggled against the Mariners. They've hit him well, and then the Padres have hit Chad Bettis well for a 300 average with 3 home runs. Those are 2 teams I think you can consider for stacking options, especially the Mariners. Then if you want to go the Padres in Coors Field, I think that does make sense. But yeah, guys, that's really it for BVP and PVB on this slate. And I think that's really it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you haven't clicked that like button yet, make sure you do so before you get out of here. If you do have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT, or you can just leave a comment down below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, guys, that's really pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it, and good luck tonight on this slate. Peace.